Hello, our esteemed viewers. Welcome to yet another episode of the Checkmate. We are in week 45?
Thereabouts.
And the year is coming to the end, and we are yet to tell you what happened in the Pearl of Africa, our beloved 256. And I'm here with my friend, Nicholas, the Duke of Chitagata. Good to have you today.
Good to have you too.
How's been your week?
My week has been a good one, a busy one, and so many stories that we're going to bring to our viewers tonight that have made the headlines of this week, so I'm looking forward.
We have winners and losers, and we'll break the stories down, starting with the Nakivubo flood, and we'll be telling you whether harm is doing harm or good. We'll also be telling you how, related to that, traders had a series of demonstrations and police had to come in and tear gas fired. Still the story from the downtown of Kampala. We also tell you the story of Machete wielding men in Kasese and Bundubigyo and extrajudicial killings. We'll have a discussion on that and how 20 or so people have lost their lives, and also the status of the security in that region checked. Also talking about the mysterious death, we'll tell you how in one of the socialites of Kampala, there was a death that was related. We'll discuss that. We also talk about Besigye and Lutale back in court denying their reference to the constitutional court. We will talk about the story from Besigye, Zohran Kwame Mamdan, the son of our senior academician and researcher, Mamdan, Professor Mamdan from Machete University, taking over New York. It's a story that we'll discuss and tell our viewers more about that. And then the sad story of the sad stories of the political persecution in Uganda, with emphasis on the story and the family of Bosco Kibalama'a. The wife passed on, and we still have 18 missing NUP supporters. We still do not know where Sam Mugumya is, and even the two Kenyans that were, we use the word abducted. We'll break those and more stories in this episode. We want to thank you if you're tuning in for the first time. Welcome to the Checkmate, to this channel. You can subscribe and share the link with your friends and family. What we do is summarize the news that made headlines in Uganda for the week passing. Nicholas,
yes.
First story, Nakivubo flooding. And as we did in the introduction, we are discussing whether harm is doing harm or good. And the story that broke the news was after, I think, 2 rounds of downpour in down Kampala, there was flooding and countless losses. And so we saw traders tearing up. We saw floating merchandise. And then KCCA came in, the executive director went downtown. The prime minister went downtown. Other technocrats from the Ministry of Works went downtown. And in the letter that was written by KCCA to the developer, kiggundu, it was discovered that he did the developments before the approvals were done.
Yes.
And that even the conditions that were set by NEMA were not fulfilled. He had a chance to answer, and he had a microphone when the prime minister was visiting. And he said that these guys are not supporting local developers and that they should come through, and that the flooding is a problem that has been, that in fact it's what he's trying to solve, and he is not the cause. I know we've discussed this issue before, but it comes in an angle of, and of course even people personalizing it to Lukwago versus Ham, politicizing an issue that I think is more technical than political. But what we're discussing and why I want you to weigh in is on the presence or lack of systems, because we have KCCA and the councillor saying no, wait, or NEMA saying ABCD, and then the president writes a letter and said, I've seen the proposals from my son Ham, please approve.
My son, see, I think that, like you said, is harm doing good or harm? There is nothing that is well-intentioned, righteous in cause and manner, that has to pass through those kinds of ways, that has to circumvent every known procedure from the city council to the agencies that are in charge to parliamentary committees. Everywhere where this thing went, it was stopped in its stead. You know, from the city council to NEMA, the development started before
the approvals.
The approvals were gotten. The parliamentary committee, you've seen Segona come out to say. You first saw Gaffer.
Yes, the Minister for
the Honorable Mbwate Kamwa come out to say, no, these people were actually harmed, gave money to these people to doctor the report.
And Segona has threatened a defamation suit.
Segona came out, you know, good things. He came out and said, no, but we were not allowed to even table that report, to even conclude it. We were stopped in our state.
Because there was higher power saying,
yes,
this must pass.
So the question is, if Ham was going to do something good, why does it have to escape?
Why do you have to hack the system?
Why do you have to, you know, circumvent the system? Why don't you go through what NEMA has said, KCCA has said, the parliamentary committee, seek all approvals, put into consideration, because those approvals come with so many considerations. One of the considerations is the safety and security of the people that are going to be affected by the work. You know, that's why even when you're doing in a building, the city council will come to inspect.
Definitely.
You know, are people in the right?
Like, are there safety measures on the site? Yes.
On the site, everything. Is there
any hazard that can come out of the development that you're doing on the land?
Because you're not doing this in a vacuum, you're doing this in people. And the sensitivity of this project is that it affects the whole of downtown, as we have seen happen this last week.
Where has government had it wrong on public-private partnerships?
Before we come to even public, because we're going to question that kind of thing, because we don't know what Ham is building is a PPP. Because from the previous buildings that he did when he redeveloped the Wemomerium, the stadium, and you know that whole area, we don't understand. I don't know. Maybe you know what part people profit, because this is land that is given to him. He constructs his arcades, collects his rent. How exactly do we profit as a country? You know, here he has over 70 acres that have been handed down to him. You know. That has led to flooding and people are losing property. Yeah. And someone raised it on X and said, now, public funds. This is land he has taken for free. That's absolutely true. 0 shillings. The most prime land in Kampala. You know, 70 acres plus. He has taken it.
The whole stretch.
Absolutely no shillings deposited. He's developed it. And in the process of developing it, it causes floods. And there's loss of so many billions. Now, the traders who are saying government is going to compensate them, and even if government does, which I think it should, they are going to be compensated out of public funds and public resources. You know,
there's a related story on that, on how, of course, some of the traders rushed to court and they were suing KCCA, they were suing NEMA, they were suing the Attorney General, they were also suing the company that Ham used, it's Kiham Enterprises Limited. We assume it's a short form of Kiggundu Ham. And you have parliamentarians who should be understanding the system coming out to say that if you go to court, you will not get anything. You would rather use the government angle because it will be easier for you to get compensation. And in the wake of that, we saw, of course, some of the traders go to KCCA to lament. But and in the wake of the KCCA, where Nicholas, a few weeks ago, we saw people who were representing the interests of the developer that we are talking about directly attack and threaten to assault the Lord Mayor at a city hall building that should be secure. And we have that because the system allows it. It allows it to flourish. So it's a broken record that keeps on playing. And because it serves the interests of some people that have the power, it's never checked and it goes on and on.
Absolutely. Two things, Harold, that stand out for me in this issue. One, I think as a country, we are suffering that, and we've said this before time and time again here, from the president stamping his foot everywhere and overriding all systems in place, because that letter, and I've seen so many people come out, of course, we've talked about how everyone now, Nope is a prime target. Everyone wants to get any views, any justification, any bread.
KCCA is dominated by NUP councillors
who
have already passed.
Anyone wants anything, any crumbs off the table, the gun is blazing at Nope. But the councillors, what would the councillors say be if the president gave an executive order? The whole entity of NEMA is down because the president is like, order. KCCA, you should have seen the lady.
No, the issue was, Nicholas, the issue was, I don't think that would be a fair defense to NUP, because the issue was that these councillors, because you have the house at KCCA, led by a PFF guy, former FDC, and then dominated by the NUP.
Yes.
But even before the president came in, people who were attacking them they had passed and okayed this deal to go on. And it also speaks on the quality of the leaders to say, did they question it deeper? Did they know what they were getting into or letting pass?
Or did they consult?
Or did they even consult the people or the party position?
We can have the conversation about the councillors really at length, but for me, I think that their decision is inconsequential. Because when the president comes in and says, give this land to Ham, I don't think that there is a force that, and that creates, you see how Ham has been operating. That Ham started to now build before the approvals came, because how can he respect any letter that comes from KCCA when the president has said? How can he respect NEMA's requirements when the president has said? So Ham did two things. He brought his own, he got his own forces, military and police. You know, the lady, you should have seen her on Behind the News on UBC
on Wednesday night.
She was speaking from a very, and I think
someone who should be empowered
she was speaking
as if
apologetically, like I don't want to be caught, but I have no power. Yes. We went there, we were stopped from entering. Can you imagine? This is KCCA. This is
I don't know if Jennifer
part of their
would play the card.
This is part of their mandate. Supervise, to look at approvals, to protect the interests of the people that are in the city. But they went to the site and they were stopped from going in with all the enforcement in the world, which means that there are so many now. We have created so many power centers. And I think that is also the second thing I wanted to talk about.
That's dangerous.
So many power centers. Now, we don't know who empowers. You saw the goons attacking people. And this is not just what you saw at City Hall. Those goons were attacking even traders downtown who had threatened to say, let Ham stop, what. He employed his chiefess from the Mnyara. Stones, anyone, they just beat up everyone into submission. Nobody arrests them, nobody gets them, nobody stops them.
It goes in the news once, and
so the question is,
next day we move on.
Where does Ham get this kind of authority, this kind of arrogance to say that he is deploying his own chiefess? He is deploying his own, he stops a whole ED of KCCA, from coming to inspect, from coming to see the work that is going on. And it comes from this one thing. I'm
sure it reminds you of a lady called Pinette.
Yes,
and
because
those who went to visit Lubowa.
Because the parliamentary committees are being stopped. This is an oversight committee. Can you imagine an oversight committee? That is some. Parliamentary committees, when they come and they probe you, and they say that arrest this guy, his things are not proper.
They have
arrest
powers.
him.
Yes, they have the powers.
They take you in. But someone has brought the system to a level where everything means nothing when he has said.
You as Neman KCCA, you've delayed, then I will go to the big drum, they will give me my consent.
So, and that has brought every thief, every scammer, everyone try to, and the points also on what we have been talking about recently. It's people trying to audition, trying to show a lot of force. You've seen RDCs, maybe we'll talk about them later, saying Shagoranyi here will not stop. Everyone is trying to audition, to catch the eye. Because power does not rest in my position as RDC. Power rests in the position of, does Museveni know me?
We will wait to see how that story unfolds and if the traders are going to get compensation, because that's what we're focusing on. We just don't want to see victims
Harold, you see
of the dead system that we are trying to criticize.
This is a challenge. That's why I felt bad for the lady, for the ED, because when disaster strikes, like many an engineer have said that disaster will strike, because you see, these buildings are not, that water is not meant to enter into the basements of those buildings. And if it persistently and consistently enters and compromises the structural integrity of those buildings around that, the Nakivubo channel that these traders have been facing, eventually one time, these buildings are going to start to do what?
Yeah, of course, the integrity of the buildings will be compromised.
So what will happen is the same thing that happened in Chitezi, is that the current people
things we see coming.
Yes, things we see coming from afar. Everyone makes noise. No one cares until disaster strikes.
It actually was scary when Ham was talking and he said that the lifespan of that very thing that he's constructing, he put it around 50 years, which in engineering terms is not a long time, by the way. So apart from the buildings that are affected, which keeps on occurring because they have basements, they had approved plans, and then you have even this worse. You saw people and engineers commenting on the videos that were taken inside, like below, saying that some of the columns did not make sense in engineering terms.
Because
but it passes.
Because that thing is being hurried, and that's the thing. He is... In your story, they say kushahura. You know, when you're trying to eat as much as possible, because someone may catch you. The parliament may resurrect and say, no, let's stop. So you want to have completed. You know, that is the spirit in which that thing is being built, and that thing is going to backfire.
It's very dangerous any time that you sacrifice perfection for speed. We hope we won't see more victims, and we'll see how that story unfolds.
But the question is, as we conclude, how do we compensate the people who have lost life, lost property in billions of shillings?
From my background as a lawyer, I know very many cases against KCCA. From what we know as public nuisance, we've had people fall in open manholes, sue KCCA. There are cases downtown where in the industrial area where KCCA would close a channel and then offices flooded. Do you remember the stories?
Yes.
People sued KCCA. You will sue it, but to recover that money, you will have to wait for very long. Like, you have very many frustrated people.
So how is now KCCA culpable for something that they tried to put in proper procedure and they were overridden?
You see, you're talking about one government, Nicholas. That's why even the lawyer who is representing the traders sued 3 or 4 entities. KCCA, NEMA, the Attorney General representing the government, and then the developer. But still going downtown, Nicholas, and we are switching a little bit in the impact of the SMEs and what they are facing. The same traders, both that lost their merchandise and people on the upper side of the arcades, were demonstrating. And the major area for demonstration was really taxes. And if you've been downtown of recent, you've realized of a big influx of internationals.
Yes, you can call them foreigners. Feel free. This is a podcast.
Okay, of international hawkers.
Yes.
Their issue is that they go through a lot, pay the taxes, come and bring their merchandise downtown, and then you have Chinese hawking on the streets. So people no longer come to their shops. Rent is increasing. They are paying VAT. It's a bigger tax burden. And then you have someone circumventing the system in the name of foreigners, and they are no longer making the money. Instead of sitting down with them, they've tried this with Kasita and demonstrated. And then you remember the last time we were talking about this. Every time now there's a demonstration, government knows how to handle. There will be Kasita, and then they will create another entity for traders. And while Kasita says we are demonstrating, the other rebel organization will say, no, we are not participating.
Yes.
And they will have some money, and then that will go on. So you have victims that do not have an answer. And what police did was it rained down with them, and you had tear gas for 2 days.
And some people arrested.
And then some people arrested, and to the point that even some of the tear gas canisters were thrown into active arcades. And it's a story that also made news in this week, and we invite you to weigh in.
There are two sides of the coin. I'll start from taxes, then I'll go down to foreigners doing retail and hawking businesses. I think that the tax issue is a little bit complex in 2 ways. One, a friend of mine had intimated, they work downtown, they work in Chikubu, and had told me for long, honestly, you know, in tax there is tax evasion and tax avoidance. But these people were doing outright evasion. You know, avoidance is legal.
You look for ways around it to cut the tax burden.
Yes, you know, they say there's no tax on, for example, agricultural inputs, farm inputs, you know, machinery. You do that, computers, what? But these guys have been doing outright tax evasion. You know, very creative ways, using the loopholes in some of the systems
within the tax regime. Sometimes connivance with tax collectors, and some people have built really, really good wealth, you know, out of that. So the introduction of EFRIs, actually, that's where most of these things started, to e-receipt their transactions, to bring the
you know, so that the trade is not in the dark. It's now brought to every transaction is receipted, you know. That was the initial. It was not being, people are not rising against it because it was a bad system, but it was a system that was getting in the way of where they had been getting their money from.
For the benefit of our audience, Nicholas, if you've been going through the Kampala streets and you've seen your favorite bar change names over time, it's not because they are rebranding. It's because probably the previous name had a lot of tax burden, and when you are add-on on them, they just switched a little bit of the name. It's a very common practice because the same thing that is happening downtown is happening to some of these businesses.
Yes.
Because if you buy a whiskey in a bar right now and they charge you VAT and they do not remit, the fine and the penalty on that will continue increasing, and most of them have fallen victim of that. It's the same story downtown that you had. We discussed last time how URA has had 1,000 employees from the beginning of this year, and most of them going into DT that goes downtown to these shops for direct enforcement, bringing them to IFRIS to ensure that every trade from imports and the sales that you're making is registered and you pay the relevant tax.
So most traders saw that as an intervention, as Bature Mesa, you know, but in true legal sense, these are taxes that they should have always been remitting, except that the system had loopholes. But you see, the country has come to a point where I think the old money has failed to drip. So we have come to a point where
and the debt burden is increasing.
The money. So the enforcement has been on, the loopholes have been tightened, so the traders are feeling a pinch. And that is one side of the story.
If you look at our tax story, it's worrying that you're getting almost 90% of your domestic collections from less than 16% of the registered taxpayers. That alone speaks volumes.
Yes.
Because you don't have a very wide tax base. Because the informal sector is big, agricultural sector is untaxed and very informal actually. So you have very few people that are bearing the whole burden.
The burden of the whole country.
And Ministry of Finance keeps increasing the targets for URA.
Now, that is the other side of the coin. Is that we desperately need to widen and broaden our tax base. We need to find ways of bringing more people into the tax base. Otherwise, we're keeping milking, and we've said it time and time here again, we'll keep milking a small percentage and milking them, and when the milk finishes, when we still continue to milk them, we eventually will get blood. So we need to find a way of incorporating everyone into the tax base. And someone made, I don't remember, it was in Sereko, he talked about farming. And I feel that it was also, unfair.
The last person that talked about taxing cattle keepers had to apologize the next day. People fear to go that direction.
I know. But this person said someone owns a square kilometer of land. You know, they have cows, maybe they have coffee, maybe they have whatever. You know, they are paying absolutely no tax, no direct tax. You know. But when you have...
But we know who owns those things.
You're 50 by 100.
They're the policy makers, so they have to protect themselves.
You're 50 by 100. When someone puts small rentals charging 150K a month...
Definitely will have to come for them for rental tax.
Yes, but they are all using land as a factor of production. And the one who is gaining the most from the factor of production is remitting nothing.
And then this.
So I think that we need to find innovative ways of broadening the tax burden. Now, moving to foreigners. Now, this is a very sensitive topic because... sometimes when we analyze it, we stand at the risk of being termed as either a racist, a non-Pan-African or whatever. But the interest of every country, every sensible nation, state, let me say state, must be to protect the interests of its citizens, But the problem with Ugandans is that Ugandans have
amorphous policies.
Ugandans have come to a point where they are orphans, and I don't know if they see it, There is no father, there is no mother, it's just maybe God, There is no one now who does something to say that this is in the best interest of our indigenous people. No, this is in the best interest of everything that is being done is in the best interest of who can give us some money, who can bring in some money.
You see, when we were discussing this last time, Nicholas, and I painted a picture, and this is a very sensitive topic. Uganda in Africa has the highest intake of refugees.
Yes.
We discussed that.
Yes.
We discussed the impact of what we know or who enter the nation as refugees on a housing market.
Yes.
And I told you how the value of a house in, for example, Besigye, that stretch,
yes,
you will see faces that are not indigenous. Whilst we understand that we need to take in and have the Pan-African spirit. And we're not saying these are the people downtown, because most of these are Chinese. But we're just discussing a broader issue of lack of policies and ways. Is that it does not make sense that such a thing is let on and it influences the housing market, that an indigenous Ugandan who is living below the poverty line has to match up.
Yes.
I told you how many, because our landlords in Uganda do not allow a foreigner to own freehold, but he can get a lease for 99 years. Go to Kajansi Hill, go to Besigye, see how many South Sudanese are buying land, because they will pay it in cash, in dollars. And the person can easily sell a 50 by 100 in Besigye at 2 billion, because someone has the money, and it's a South Sudanese dream to own land in Kampala. When things go south at home, I have alternative land. But you do not have someone coming up to say, this is a loophole in the policy, we need to cover it.
Yes.
Same for people who just come and use here as a waiting period to go and transfer their visas, maybe to Canada or something. What are you doing to incorporate those people? How easy is even our immigration law for people who are applying and becoming citizens compared to other nations? We're not discussing that. And now you have people who come as expatriates, but the next thing you see, he has shares in a bar, and he's collecting from pool table. Something that would be done by a Ugandan. There's no policy. So when we're talking about amorphous policies and how they are impacting the community and the indigenous Ugandan, it's not like we are against the global, because we have very many Ugandans in other countries, but they find policies and they have to succumb to those and work within that.
Recently, this gentleman, Issa Sekito, was talking about why the demonstrations, the first demonstrations downtown were not even about taxes or whatever. They were about increase in rent. Yeah. And why it had caused increase in rent? When Tanzania did that policy of saying, no, certain businesses are for foreigners, they are for Tanzanians. So basically, if you're Ugandan, you're Chinese, you're whatever, you cannot do this kind of business at this level. You must have a certain level of investment. I
was actually speaking to a Congolese colleague who was telling me that they have brought almost a similar policy, but for their companies. That for you to open a local company, you must have a Congolese own at least 55%.
You know? So when they were chased out of Tanzania, they came to Uganda. And when they come to Uganda, the same thing we're talking about the rent, and now they have started to come to this part of the city also. When you talk about... So when they come to town, they want to start business. Yes, and so now they demand rent. They demand, where to go. So the landlords see demand.
It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity
for me to
I have a market that is willing to pay my demands.
So 5-10 people have called you today, say, Drake, do you have a shop? Do you have a shop? Do you have a shop? Every day they call you. So you say no. The people who are in my shop, these guys are even willing to pay more. So let me increase rent. And by some landlords even increased by as much as 50%.
And guys book rentals off plan.
You've been paying 800K, then next they want 1.2. Suddenly unexplained nothing, But this is why this is a very dangerous thing. You see, when these foreigners come, they make the ground very uneven. Why? One, the lending rates in China, are 3.5%.
Our local lending rates here for a commercial bank, almost times 7.
Yeah, exactly. The lending rates in India are slightly above. They're about 9.5-10%. But also that's half of what we experience here. So these guys come with cheap credit, They have higher purchase because they are known locals of the other places,
The source of the goods.
The source of the goods, And they come and compete in the same environment with someone getting money at 22% PA, And someone who cannot be lent things, they have to use cash to get ship things in.
With a horrible mortgage arrangement, so they have a housing problem, they have a capital problem.
And at the end of the day, these people start to take these profits, repatriate these profits back home to China and India. So the question is, honestly speaking, and there are so many Chinese who are duping the system. And this is the point where I would support the Common Man's Party, because the manifesto says if he got power like this, the Pelao man, or he would chase away all these people. at least from doing petty businesses, because and he was it him or someone else talking about how these Chinese investors dupe the system. So they come and say, no, we are investors. They give you a tax holiday, 10 years. Yeah. What are you investing in? Machinery. We are making jeans. What? So they import already made jeans. Fabric. Yeah. Already made. There is nothing they're making that they are supporting cotton farmers in the north or wherever. No. They already import. Then they go in those industrial parks and just assemble, collect women with it makes sense because I was assemble the pants.
I was seeing the video that was done by Operation Wealth Creation of over 35 factories that are in Kapeka and what they do.
It's just assembling. It's basically assembling kutunga. Now these are investors, but you see, there's someone downtown that they're denying a chance to buy a jean from China, and make some profit here.
And this one is on a tax holiday.
And this one is on a tax holiday.
But you see, when we were discussing that issue last time, I opened it to you of how many people
given land in Kapeka that is free. He probably has security, but because he gave some money to someone to secure him the deals.
And then someone has some percentages in that company. And we know that someone, it's really...
So that's why I was telling you that Ugandans are orphans. They don't know what to do. The government has abdicated its duty of saying that we are Ugandan first. There is absolutely no sense, nothing.
I think it's even worse when you playing by your own illusion. When your father is alive, they don't care about you, but they bring in stranger in your home and care more.
Can you imagine that your father is bringing in people to say, okay, now for you, I don't know, this person came from, I picked them from Masaka when I was recently there, so let them build there. They give them, but the sons of the house cannot even get the crumbs on the table.
I'm afraid we have to switch.
And the question is this deliberate? Or have we let deals become, because if we
people
don't...
People are fronting personal interests. People with power are fronting personal interests at the expense of national policy. That's nothing to hide.
There is a proverb that translates to, whoever says the danger is not the originator of what? Of the danger.
So talking about the locals and what we're discussing, to bring this into perspective, we were telling you that the digital credit in Uganda, people who use different digital lending platforms, the Wewole, Kasente, etc. That has surged to, Nicholas, 3.5 trillion. It shows how desperate people are. But we'll leave that at that and switch our guns to Kasese and Bundubigyo. And the bad news from that side, that on Saturday morning, crossing to Sunday and Monday, over 20 people were killed. There are two sides to that story. If you're hearing it for the first time, it's because there were people who were armed with pangas and bows and arrows that attacked different establishments for police and UPDF in Kasese and in Bundubigyo. Video started to circulate where police and security forces were doing what can vividly be termed as extrajudicial killings. They would chase that man who was holding a panga and terrorizing the village or attacking the police and shoot him in the face. And that's how most of the 20 died. The videos that were making rounds. Of course, police also issued statements to advise people to be cautious and etc. But it's a very volatile region, the Kasese area, as far as security is concerned. We have had very many things come out of that area. And this being one more. And it's a direct attack on the security apparatus in the area. Police, UPDF, because most of the infrastructure that was attacked was actually security apparatus. They didn't go with much, but it's something that made news. But the bigger condemnation coming with, because you had people who were even chased, holding pangas and bags, and they would kneel and say, I'm sorry, but they would shoot them, which is extrajudicial killings. The things that took some men in the bush in 1983 or before. So that's one of the things that made news. I don't know what you read into it as far as the security eye is concerned and where the nation stands right now.
One, I think that it is very unreasonable. When I saw the videos and when I heard the story that they were holding machetes and were coming against a very...
I think when some attacked an institution, yes.
An institution Others were attacking the establishments of forces, military and police. I mean, it's a case of fanaticism, because there is absolutely no way that you're going to survive with a machete against people that are armed with guns.
The story of Mau Mau.
Exactly. So that it's Kinjektire Ngwale and Majimaji, you know, or Alice Lakwena. So I don't understand exactly what it is about, because this is as if this is sacrifice. Because if you come bring a knife into a gunfight, you're basically you're a martyr. But the question is, what are they martyring themselves for? Because they are not. I don't think that either it's indoctrination, that someone has told them, no guys, let's go and attack and we shall win, or it is from a place of martyrdom where they say, you know what, instead of being humiliated, let's die for what we believe. Let's go kill 3 and we shall all die. It's a jihad. Islamists would call it a jihad, because you know you're going to die, you know, but you're just doing something. That being spoken and that being said, I think that the citizens, you know, deserve to know the whole truth. Who are these people? Who are sponsoring them? What was their mission?
ADF hasn't come out to claim, because ADF has done a lot in that area. And most of the issues that have come before, they have claimed responsibility. But for this, they have not come to say that these are their members.
But a week almost now after that attack happened, we don't know who they are, what they wanted, what their mission is.
The story is swept under the carpet and we move on as
who their leader is. They had attacked an institution. So are the people safe in Kasese? Can they go to sleep?
Has this been contained?
Has it been contained? Can they go to sleep and assume that everything is normal? Why was there no the spooks and the intelligence? Why was there no detection from the intelligence services to warn there's a whole mountain division in Kasese, in that area? You know.
Kasese, Bundubigyo,
So the questions are many and the answers are few. But that said, the question now is, why execute them extrajudicially?
To send a statement.
To send a statement of what? Send a statement to who? Because the question is, these people would have acted as witnesses. Number one. Number two, there are proper laws and proper procedures. I mean, the country cannot start, state organs cannot start to act rogue, you know, to say that now for us we shall make our own laws. No.
Because you see,
if someone has surrendered. It's not
the first time we're seeing this in Kasese, because you remember when there was an attack on the palace
I remember
that led to the arrest of the Msinga of Renzururu, who's, I think, still out of the country.
Yes.
The forces by Afande Elwelu, right? That's the name. Who, by the way, has made several videos since his retirement working on his body. But that's besides the point. How they dealt with that attack, which people called a massacre. It seems like it's a trend that security will deal with you as if there's a vacuum of the law every time there's a rise of such, without finding the answers of the cause or assuring people that this is done and dusted, especially since it comes out in the same area.
But you see, Harold, if we reach this level, then what are we communicating? We are communicating a message of the state will do
as it pleases.
As it pleases, you know? So attack the state at your own risk. But what
does that will then come and
But what does that reflect? That takes us back to the Amin. This is typical Amin. This is typical Obote too. You know? You know,
it's
on camera. And these people are too arrogant that they will do it on camera. You know, so I think that we are not going the right direction. I understand that it's very, very, war is nefarious by nature, and it is very bad what the attackers did. It's very unreasonable. Honestly, I cannot think of any reason. Either they were fanatics or they were martyrs. You know, who believe in a certain cause, but there is no justification for shooting people who have already surrendered and who can provide information and say, Harold sent us, our mission was to do this, we trained from here, we do this, just execute them straight away. It's shady.
I know it is. And for our viewers, please send in your comments when you can. If you have a comment on one of the bits that we are discussing, please feel free to share your views or ask questions. And we'll be recognizing some in our subsequent episodes. But for now, talking about crimes against the state or suspicions of the same, Besigye and Lutale came back to court this week.
Yes.
And
yesterday?
Yeah, that was on Thursday. Yes, Thursday the 6th. Why they came back to court is that the last time we discussed this issue, what had come up in court was Besigye submitting what he had submitted to Judicial Service Commission, saying that the judge was biased. The judge said, I am hearing your matter and I am not biased. Whether you want or not, we are proceeding with the trial. So when it came up yesterday on Thursday, the issue under discussion was Besigye's lawyer asking the High Court to say, please refer this matter to the Constitutional Court as we see constitutional interpretation as to whether these circumstances you would continue to try the case. The judge had and determined their application and dismissed it and intimated that he would proceed with the hearing of the matter. So years later, Besigye and Lutale had to be sent back to the coolers. We saw a little bit of an uncomfortable incident when the daughter of Lutale demonstrated in court and lost it, really, shouting at the judge and saying that it's an incompetent court, that the judge is biased, that they have not had this matter almost over a year now since the arrest, and there's no solution. How strange, and of course we've had the hearings of before we went on the news, we were discussing with some people in studio of how Besigye in 2001 was nominated via a picture and what. So it's been a story of this persecution, and of course there are an official position saying that if there was a record for it, Besigye would be the most arrested man in the world.
World over.
The world over. Of course, Guinness denied that position and said it's not official, but we know how many times this gentleman, now he's in for a case that we know as treason, and we know from the rumors and the security briefing that he was attempting to take the life of the president. But how it's been handled speaks volumes on the rule of law and separation of powers and judicial independence. We can talk about that a lot. But what is going on, and how is this story likely to end?
Let me start with the daughter of Obeid and what she did. Sometimes you don't know how to feel, to be honest, because in principle, that was desecration of the court of law. This is an honorable court.
It's contempt of court. You can be charged.
It's contempt of court. We must observe a certain level of decorum, you know. But the question is this an honorable court? Is this an honorable judge? Is this an honorable institution? Does it deserve honor? Does it deserve respect? You know? Does it follow proper procedure? Before we say she disgraced the court, is this a graceful court? See, those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And sometimes we must snap out of telling the victims to how to
be sober in an unsober environment.
Yes, how to react. You know, because this is a clear victim of an injustice system, of a system that is being controlled. And to me, I will not go into the law and everything that it says and how someone, you know, is being judged over his own, you know. But it speaks about two things. One, the judge is not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing, you know. Neither is the state. And I think that the state, personally, I think it's playing some kind of, because we're in a very politically sensitive season, some kind of a delay. Do
you think there will be a difference after the election?
Yes.
On January 15th?
Yes.
So after the swearing in of the president?
And it will take two turns. Either we shall see
first trial, or
we shall see them become free, because this has been happening, and to maybe put him off the ballot, put him off the civic spaces, TVs, maybe he would have run and created a difference. So we shall see them become free. Or secondly, they want to do a very nefarious thing, convict him of things, and because if the case had been built the way Andrew Mwenda was telling us, that they have evidence,
videos, and photos,
red hot, pants down evidence. They would have just charged them. But the fact that they just keep playing one thing, then 2-3 weeks, then go back to court, then delay, very flimsy things, unprecedented stuff. How things are supposed to be done.
The critics leaning towards the state have said that, and this is their argument, just presenting their argument, where they're saying that because of the 1,000 applications that have been done by the legal team representing Besigye and Lutale, which of course are many, and as a lawyer, I know they are justified because they are coming from somewhere, are enough proof that the man is guilty. That's why they don't want to jump into that trial. They are doing everything possible to focus on the technicalities of the law as opposed to just hearing the matter. Of course, it's a wrong narrative, because why should I go all through the trial when I doubt the fairness? And you will get me on the merits, and they can go to the other side when there's a law that speaks clearly. We started from the point of charge in military courts for a civilian or a retired, of course, a retired officer is a civilian by then. And then we go to how the transfers were made. All those applications have been had in a consistent manner that makes the legal team doubt the independence of the judiciary to hear the matter and determine it in their direction. So it's not that they know how obvious the evidence that has been presented is, because it's on the state. They would have started and presented, start with discovery, present what you have, the other team looks into it, and let us start the trial start. But all this cornering by the state speaks volumes that this is more of yet another story of how they have dealt with Besigye. I
think you're correct, but as soon as this election is done, I feel like we are going to have something. We are going to understand the intentions of the state, because as for now, we can talk until the cows come to, but the question is, what are the intentions of the state? Why are they playing a delay? Why are they playing the long game? What exactly is it? And I'm telling you that as soon as the election is done, we shall get to know.
Let's switch to more comfortable news. I want to tell our viewers that Nicholas's age mate is a new mayor for New York.
I am not 34 yet. For our viewers, we are still young people. You never know, in a year or two.
Nicholas, as per the Ugandan constitution, cannot stand as a youth representative. I want to break that news. But we're talking about Kwame Mamdan.
Yes.
This is a story that has, of course, some people are arguing that finally, when people speak about Uganda, they will not say Idi Amin, they will say Mamdan. For those who do not know, New York elected its mayor, and Mamdan took the day. Mamdan is the son of Professor Mamdan, who is a professor at Makerere and a researcher at Maiza. Some of you will remember him with the issues with Stella Nyanzi and how we got to know Stella Nyanzi in the way that we know him, but a very celebrated scholar. Yes. I just respect him. You read his papers, you doubt if you have the same IQ. He has a very latest book that he's talking about. If you actually read that book, Nicholas, you should.
I should.
The book but that Professor Mamdan has done.
I don't think it's in Aristoc.
Not yet, but it's coming.
Really?
Yeah, it's coming.
Won't they buy all the copies on the first day so it doesn't circulate?
So the book is comparing Museveni's regime and Amin's regime and saying that Museveni's way of handling power leaves lasting dangers on a state than Amin's because of the hidden camouflage of dictatorship. You should read the book.
I should.
We saw people commenting, including diplomats, Adonia, coming out to say that it's a myopic look at things, that you cannot compare Amin to Museveni. But that father gave birth to the son and the latest mayor of New York. And Mamdan, if we read the story of how Mamdan, now the mayor comes, Mamdan of an Indian descent is a Ugandan. When Uganda got its independence in 1962, as a gift, America gave, I think, 27 scholarships. Mamdan was one of the beneficiaries, and he went to America and studied. And of course came back to Uganda, even after the expulsion of the Asians. It's a story is told, and it's also part of Kwame's biography, where he says that when Professor Mamdan reached the US, there was a demonstration by the Americans. He joined them. He was arrested. And after his arrest, he called the Ugandan embassy and said, "Hey, I'm in prison." The ambassador said, "We sent you to study. What are you doing in prison?" And his answer is simple, I came here to study because we got freedom. I got a scholarship. And the people that gave me that advantage are also fighting for their freedom. It's my moral duty to join them in their fight for freedom. It's that kind of the family. But now the son takes on the helm of New York in a very tricky state because he is pro-socialist ideas, which some people think that they are easier to campaign with than to execute. And he has also lodged war against Trump, because Trump, of course, was backing the other candidate from his party the big challenge. I think the opening speech was, I have a clear message for Trump, turn the volume up, like I'm coming for you sort of. Most of the people are saying that what he campaigned with was more appealing of cheap transport, cheap groceries and ETs, which are socialist ideas that might not be typical of a capitalist market, and to reflect that they might be harder to effect. But he put Uganda on the map. You can't imagine how many times he said Luganda words during his campaign trail, and embracing that. He even had a song when he had come back in his vacation. He actually interned at, I think, the New Vision or the Daily Monitor, one of those kind of free spirits. I don't know what made the news for you as far as that story is concerned.
I think it's a phenomenal story, really, really commendable. A journey, you know, that starts here in Kampala in Zambia Hospital, and you end up becoming the mayor of New York City. Of course, I mean, this is New York, so if that's extreme left, so you're going to have problems with Trump, exactly, who's a Republican. He's going to have problems with you. And his message verging on socialism is also going to have even problems in his own party.
That's true.
You know, but I think that it's a very commendable story. I've seen people try to downplay it, to say he was not normal. His parents were dollar millionaires. His father was a scholar. His mother a filmmaker. But there are so many people that are born in privilege, even more privileged than you know. Look at our Ugandan people born in privilege. You know, you have, and I regret to use her as an example, because I think she's a very, very peaceful woman and developmental chassis.
Chassis, yes.
You know, but you need the president to say that the brother not run, so that you can.
You don't let the system play out and expose whether you are.
How many people are privileged in you that have rose on merit? That, you know, they have rose on merit to become this kind of thing. So Mamdan rising to this has a certain line of relationship with the social and economic position of his parents, but that is not all. This is just a small section, you know. But I think that yes, honestly, he has written his story. I think that there's so many people who grow up in even better families. I mean, this is New York City. I know. You know, he's the mayor of New York City. How many people are born in New York, born in the United States, are more privileged than him? You know, and his story coming from Uganda to the US to, you know, it's a very commendable story. So, but the question is, if people are saying that it's because he's born out of privilege, the question is, why are our people who are born out of privilege, and there's so many people, you know, where are they? What have they done? What story have they written that outshines the legacy of the privilege that they came out of? Because I think now Zohran, honestly, has now outshone Professor Mamdani. So what are we doing? What are we using our privileges for? I think he's a brilliant young man. Let's not take the victory away from him by claiming his parents gave it to him, a silver platter. You campaign in that kind of city. You're a Muslim. You're young. Ugandan descent. You're Indian. South Asian. You are, you know, a socialist.
Yes. But make like everything, a lot of odds.
So many odds. And you see, he sticks to his convictions. He's not a man that is waved,
want to be
politically correct. No. He speaks his mind. He speaks his convictions outrightly. Hate me or love me, but this is what I'm about. And he has surmounted so many odds. The president of the free world, the leader of the free world, is against you, and your candidacy, and you circumvent that. It's not.
You're stone in the shoe of the president of the free world.
It's not easy.
I get you.
It's not easy.
Back to the home where
So congratulations to him.
Back to the home where the mayor of New York comes from. It's not all good and rosy, because we still have political prisoners that have since disappeared, and we do not know where they are. That story, as was run by the Daily Monitor, I think yesterday and today, talking about the 18 NUP supporters that have disappeared for the better part of the 6 years. We are also talking about other stories of Sam Mugumya, who has also not been found, and we have had very many applications of habeas corpus in court where the police are saying we do not know where he is. We have a story of two activists from Kenya, same story, who had come, I think, to give moral support to Besigye.
The campaign.
Yes, I think a campaign.
Honorable Kyagulanyi, yes.
And have also since disappeared. With the joke around the streets that our presidents have a kidnap exchange program. And that story made news more because, unfortunately, one of the 18 NUP supporters that have since disappeared, Bosco Kibalama'a, the wife was unfortunately found dead in the bathroom in their home in Mukono and was buried yesterday, Thursday, in Mbarara, leaving now the children with no mother and a father that people do not know whether he is alive or dead. But in that burial where pain was soaring, people were asking what really happened to these people. And it's a story that we and the government try, and even the Fourth Estate tries to sweep under the carpet and focus on other things. It's actually activists on social media that keep running these stories to say that this is unheard of and should be corrected. But it's a story that continues to run. We have 18 families and more that do not know whether their people are alive or dead.
But these are children that have no parents now.
Okay, sure.
You see, in Uganda, patriotism can actually kill you. But so what you sweep under the news as is another guy that has been kidnapped. But what you leave in trail.
1,000 ways to die in Uganda. One of them is
patriotism. Yes, it's one of 1,000 ways to die in Uganda. But and it's not funny because
it's sad.
Honestly, it's very sad. I saw the children crying. They have no mother. They have no father. They are young. And honestly speaking, for me, my conviction is that these people don't exist anymore because picked from the streets, absolutely zero connections with, say, maybe they have an armed group, maybe they are planning rebellion, just normal traders, mechanics, ghetto people, because they put on
a red beret,
a beret and said, we follow this person, they are arrested, they are tortured. And honestly speaking, for me, I think that with all the pressure the government has gone through, with all the things, I think if these people lived,
they would have released them.
At least or produced them in court and frustrated the process.
I totally agree because in the negotiations, you remember, because you had very many NUP supporters.
Yes.
Some of them negotiated through, I think, the brokerage of Balaman and the group.
Yes.
Because if those people were in any prison, some of them would have at least taken the deal.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
but the biggest worry is that no one appeared during that trail, and you also had government giving varying statements. The Prime Minister saying Kibalama'a is out of the country, and then
the Prime Minister said they have him.
They have him. Then the other one is saying it's out of the country, has escaped, and the other one saying it's scary, and it points to
what is clear. All those are rumors and innuendos. What is clear is that this man was picked, and that's the problem of kidnapping. Kidnapping creates an environment of lack of accountability. When you escape the proper processes of arresting someone,
give a warrant, arrest,
the story of Sam Mugumya. Now nobody knows who to ask Sam Mugumya. The army says this.
Police said, you have also said in your statement that there were people dressed in the army with
so
army attire.
That's a problem because now we don't know where Sam Mugumya is, who is responsible for him, if he's still alive, what he's accused of.
We have empty habeas corpus rulings, tortured, nothing to enforce.
Nobody knows where to find him. Nobody is responsible. But this is a state that is supposed to, the role, for example, of the police is to protect,
In a perfect world, people would be resigning.
Yeah, I mean, so where do you go to ask for Sam Mugumya? And that's the problem about kidnapping, is that you don't know where this person is. No one is responsible. Is it the military intelligence that took him? Is it the police that took him? Is it the army that took him? And so many different power centers. Now we have come to a level actually where seeing the gangs, the Garis that now Ham has unleashed downtown. Ham can come and kidnap. Scratch that, But the creation of these power centers mean that people are given powers.
Nicholas, it's very
They
sad.
are given small militias.
We are talking about.
So sometimes you don't know, is it the police that has them, or it is the guards of this person that have him? Is Sam Mugumya, was he arrested by the Ugandan state, or is he being prevented by the candidates in Rukunjiri municipality from competing against them in Rukunjiri? So you don't know whether he has been arrested at the level of Rukunjiri or the state.
Suspicion
there because maybe Besigye or whatever else.
You see, the biggest pain is
ambiguous.
The biggest pain is that we are encouraging this as a system? Because you remember the story, and just to dig a little bit in the campaign trail, when Bobi Wine was campaigning in Chiruhura, and people were holding sticks and beating the supporters.
I don't know why that didn't appear in our news story.
And it's a summary of it, because when you follow the trail, now videos have started to surface of those very gentlemen coming out of the famous HD4 vehicles, getting money, giving people t-shirts to, and even some of the people profiling, saying, this person is this and this, all attached to state.
Yes.
And that goes on because someone wants to show that the candidate X could not campaign in my district, supported by the RDC and other people that assume power. And it goes on and on. You have very many, and the danger is this. I disagree with you when you say the danger is that you do not know, because what you call the problem is an advantage to the state. The danger is that it has happened over and over again, and it seems normal, whereas not.
It seems normal. It's even celebrated that I have this person in my basement, and it goes on. But as we conclude, Harold, I think that it is newsworthy that we talk about what happened in Kazo the other day and Chiruhura. Because you see, the problem is that sometimes we think...
I feel the pain in your soul as you say that.
No, sometimes we look at things from a very short...
Myopic
distance. You see that kind of thing, Because the truth of the matter is that Museveni will not rule this country forever. So what those tribalistic people that I saw hold sticks and vehemently say this, Zibaganda will not campaign here, this, will not campaign here, this is Holy Land, this is...
They even called it Holy Land.
What will happen? Do you know that there was a time when the Lango held that kind of power? Do you know that there was a time when Amin's people held that kind of power? So let's not, and you see, this country keeps getting to the brink of political chaos. And honestly,
and it's fueled by the leader, because those people do not represent tribes.
Yes, and I've not seen, and I don't think that even what happened there was sanctioned. But I don't think that Museveni really, because one of the things that Museveni has tried not to is the tribalistic line, fueling tribal. I think Museveni, honestly, he can have other ways of doing it. Promoting his own people, bringing, but active tribalism. I don't think that was something that could have been sanctioned from as far as that place. But I've not seen anyone come to say, guys, what you did was, and I thought Museveni would come out to say that was wrong in Chiruhura and Kazo. Let the man come, just to remove the cover of saying that we are doing this because this is our tribesmate. But we are getting closer and closer to tribal clashes.
Ingredients.
These are the same things that happened here in the southwestern neighbors. That kind of small increase in fire, small skirmishes, words being thrown, people assuming that this country is ours. This country is ours, others are second-class citizens. I think it's a very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous thing.
Finally, Nicholas, as we close, Uganda made an appearance on a footballing stage of the World Cup with our under-17 participating in the World Cup. The first match against Canada, and Uganda's first ever goal at a World Cup scored by the teenager Bogere. I don't know what you were doing at 17, but Bogere was scoring a Ugandan goal. Unfortunately, we lost the game in the dying minutes, 2-1, and there will be another game, I think the second game, but it was, and as I said, and we usually say here, that our sportsmen are our beam of hope as far as good news is concerned in Uganda. I don't know if you are following the match.
At 17, I was studying how Napoleon dismantled, the Fourth Alliance at Australis. But it was a heartbreak, honestly. I thought the match had gone well. And the boys had
handled it very well up to the 80th minute.
But of course, I think sometimes experience will count But even appearing at the World Cup under 17 gives us hope that maybe in the future the Cranes...
In the future, this team can be consolidated.
Can consolidate both here on the African continent, but also on the world stage. So it's a plus.
And the coach's contract was extended?
Yeah.
Full put?
Good news.
Extended to 2028?
Good
You are
news.
vouching for it?
I was vouching for it. I was hoping he doesn't leave. Because, I mean, when you have performed like that, so many nations that have serious teams are playing in serious tournaments. I'm told Cameroon was... knocking on his door.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to put aside Cameroon to continue coaching Uganda, dealing with Magogo and
and the politics.
The politics of this country. But I was glad that Paul put pen to paper and is here with us for 2 more years.
Finally, the dictator was dethroned.
Oh yes.
Namblazers taking on and City Oilers. The run for 10 years is done.
Namblazers were in the final with City Oilers. I think it must have been like 2 years ago or so, as with a friend of ours. And
it was torture.
It was heartbreak.
So congratulations to Namblazers.
Congratulations, the persistence, the belief, And I mean, when someone has conquered for so long, sometimes it's belief that they are untouchable. But the dictator Hitler is dead. Congratulations, Namblazers. And I hope they have a nice tournament in Kenya.
In Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah. We wish them the very best. For everyone who's watched today, thank you very much for tuning in. We can't wait to have you in our other episode. We are drawing close to the festives and we can't wait to have you all through our episodes as we share the stories that will be making headlines all through those weeks. Thank you very much and see you in the next episode.